Oppo formed Realme with one sole purpose, which is to challenge Xiaomi's dominance in the Indian market. And after literally launching tons of smartphones in its 2-year lifespan, Realme has now also entered the budget smartband segment. Now, this is a space that has been dominated by Xiaomi since 2015. Therefore, in this video, let's put the Realme Band head to head with the very popular Xiaomi Mi Band 4 and find out which one is better. But before we start, let me make it quite clear. The Realme Band at Rs 1500 is cheaper than the Mi Band 4, which retails for Rs 2300. However, the price difference is not very significant and people are quite likely to cross-shop between them. First up, let's start with design and comfort. Now, I know the design is quite a subjective thing, but I do personally believe that the Realme Band looks a bit better. It also sticks out less from your wrist when compared to the Mi Band 4, which overall gives it a bit more of that elegant look. The Mi Band 4 has superior strap quality, but in my day-to-day usage, I did find that the Realme Band was a lot more comfortable to wear on a daily basis. Also, the Realme Band strap has a traditional buckle, which I find a lot more convenient. Next up is the charging convenience. You see, the Realme Band comes with an embedded USB-A port. So, you remove one side of the strap, you get the USB-A port, you just plug it in and you're sorted. The Mi Band 4 has a proprietary charging cradle, which is always a hassle to carry. Even though the Mi Band 4 is pretty accurate when it comes to steps counting, it can go a bit over-enthusiastic at times. So, if you compared both the bands, in my day-to-day usage, I did find the Realme Band to be a bit more accurate. This is where the good things end for the Realme Band. Now, let's talk about what makes the Xiaomi Mi Band 4 better. And frankly, there's a lot to talk about here. We'll start with the display quality. The real problem here is that the Realme Band's display, frankly, is quite terrible. The sunlight legibility of the Realme Band, even at max brightness, is so bad that this band is barely usable outdoors. Now this alone is a reason big enough for you to consider skipping the Realme Band. On the contrary, the OLED display of the Mi Band 4 has much better viewing angles, its sunlight legibility is so much superior, and its overall color reproduction is also very punchy. Next up, let's move over onto the user interface. Now before I start, let me tell you that the Realme Band does not have a touchscreen user interface. The only way to navigate on the Realme Band is that single capacitive touch button, which makes the UI quite simple to operate. But even though the UI navigation is fairly simple, the bigger problem with the Realme Band is that its software itself is pretty half-baked. The feature list on the Realme Band is pretty bare bones. You get very basic features like sleep tracking and heart rate monitoring. You've got multiple sports modes, however, you can only activate 3 modes at one time. On the Mi Band 4, there is no such limitation. Features like timer and stopwatch, which can be considered essential for a fitness tracker, are also surprisingly absent on the Realme Band. On the Mi Band 4, you can put up a security lock and you can also control your music. And none of these features are available on the Realme Band. Perhaps the bigger problem with Realme Band software is the fact that its notification management is also pretty poor. First and foremost, there is a reasonable delay between you receiving a notification on the phone and the Realme Band displaying it. Then, there is no notification stacking feature, which means, for example, if you've got 5 unread notifications, you'd only be able to preview the latest one. The previous 4 would just disappear. Also worth mentioning is that on the Realme Band, you only get 5 preloaded watch faces. That's it. And it's quite hilarious that only one of those preloaded watch faces actually has a battery indicator. If you apply any other watch face, you won't be able to see the battery level. For that, you'll have to open the app. Talk about poor management. In comparison, the Mi Band 4 is infinitely more customizable. Not only you get tons of preloaded watch faces, but you can also customize and create your own if you want. The companion app of the Mi Band 4 is called Mi Fit, whereas for the Realme Band, it's called Realme Link. Now just like their band itself, the Realme Link app is also quite bare bones. You do get basic information, which is mostly quite accurate. However, it all falls short when compared to the Mi Fit app. Finally, in terms of battery life, the Mi Band beats Realme Band yet again. On the former, you can easily get around 2 weeks on a single charge, whereas on the Realme, you can only get about 7 to 8 days. Before we wrap, it is worth noting that both bands are fairly durable and come with water resistance. Finally, as we wrap everything up, I'm pretty positive that you know by now that how disappointing my experience with the Realme Band has been. While lack of essential features is still acceptable, the poor display quality and the half-baked software pretty much ruin the entire experience. Therefore, consider the Realme Band as a not so good first attempt from the company. If you're considering choosing between the two, please consider spending the additional 800 rupees and go for the Mi Band 4. You won't be disappointed.